Doctors warn. Older women, 99% lose balance. Due to these 8 mistakes you can avoid. Have you ever stumbled in your own home on a perfectly flat surface? For no clear reason, I have. And that moment changed everything. No obstacles, no distractions, just me walking through my kitchen when suddenly my foot slid and I nearly hit the floor. That single moment made me question everything. What if I had fallen? What if no one had been there to help? Doctors now say that up to 99% of women over 60 will experience balance issues at some point. Yes, 99%. But here's the truth no one is talking about. Most of these problems don't come from aging alone. They come from habits we can change, mistakes we can avoid, and choices we can control. Today I'm going to walk you through 8 of the most common reasons older women quietly, unknowingly lose their balance and what you can do starting right now to stay safe, steady, and confident. And let me say this clearly. This isn't about fear, it's about freedom. Because when you understand what's really putting you at risk, you can finally take back control. So let's begin with something that seems small but could save you from a dangerous fall. Part 1. Wearing the wrong shoes. The foundation that can make or break you. When we think about staying balanced, we often think about core strength or maybe our medications. But the truth is, your stability doesn't start at your center. It starts at your feet, and the shoes you wear can either support every step or sabotage it. For years, I wore soft ballet flats. They were light, easy to slip on, and, let's be honest, cute. But one afternoon, I caught the edge of that flat on a cracked sidewalk. I nearly landed face first into a hedge. That moment woke me up. I realized I was trusting my safety to a pair of shoes that were never designed to protect me. As we age, the shape of our feet changes. The natural padding under our heels and toes wears down. Our arches collapse. Our ankles become less responsive. That means the shoes we wore in our 40s might now be putting us in real danger in our 60s. So what makes a shoe dangerous? Smooth soles that slip on tile or wet pavement. Thin fabric that offers no support to the ankle. And shoes that are too loose or too tight, causing trips, blisters, or worse falls. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you checked the bottoms of your shoes if they're worn smooth, if they twist easily in your hand, if they feel floppy when you walk? They may be part of the reason you feel unsteady. Now I know what you might be thinking. I don't want to wear orthopedic shoes. They're bulky, they're ugly, but that's no longer true. Today you can find supportive non-slip shoes that look modern, elegant, and even stylish. I own a pair of soft gray walking shoes with floral embroidery. They hug my feet, they grip the ground, and they've saved me more times than I can count. And what about at home? I used to wear cozy slippers around the house, until the day I nearly fell carrying a laundry basket down the stairs. Those slippers. No grip at all, just fluff. Now I wear indoor shoes with proper soles, lightweight, comfortable, and safe. And here's what changed. I walk taller. I move with more confidence. I don't hesitate at thresholds or corners anymore. Because balance isn't just about what you do, it's about what you wear, starting from the ground up. So here's your first step to better balance. Check your shoes. Replace the ones that don't support you. And remember, your foundation matters. Because a stable step is the first sign of a strong, steady life. Part 2. Skipping strength. Training how muscle loss creeps in and costs you. You might not notice it at first. It doesn't come with a loud warning or a dramatic fall. It begins quietly, like needing both arms to push yourself up from a low chair, or feeling unusually tired after carrying a small grocery bag, or hesitating before climbing stairs you once handled with ease. This is how muscle loss begins. It's slow, it's subtle, and for millions of women over 60, it's silently stealing strength, confidence, and balance every single day. The medical term is sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass that starts around age 30 and speeds up after 50. And by the time you're 70, you could have lost up to 30% of your muscle if you haven't actively worked to maintain it. That's not just a number, that's your power to rise from a chair, to hold your balance if you trip, to catch yourself if you stumble. For years, I thought staying active was enough. I walked regularly, I cleaned, I gardened, but I never did anything to challenge my muscles. No resistance, no lifting, no intentional strength work. And here's what I didn't know. Cardio is great for your heart, but only strength training rebuilds the muscle you lose with time, and without muscle, your body has no armor. No cushion to protect your bones if you fall, no strength to correct your balance in that one critical moment. But here's the part that gave me hope. Muscle is rebuildable. At any age. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need to lift heavy weights. You can start with simple resistance bands, or even your own body. Try standing heel raises at the kitchen counter. Seated leg lifts while watching your favorite show, or wall push-ups a few times a day. I began with 5 minutes. That was it. But within weeks, I noticed the difference. Getting up from the sofa no longer required effort. Carrying laundry didn't exhaust me. And most importantly, I felt steadier on my feet. Not because I moved differently, but because my body had regained its strength to support me. There's a powerful shift that happens when you feel strong again. You stop bracing for the worst. You stop avoiding uneven sidewalks or unfamiliar paths. You move through the world with quiet confidence because you know your body won't betray you, it will protect you. So here's the truth. Skipping strength training doesn't just lead to weakness, it leads to hesitation, to fear, to losing the freedom you worked your whole life to have. You deserve more than that. Start small. Stay consistent and build the strength that helps you stand tall, not just physically, but emotionally too. Now that we've looked at your muscles, let's talk about something you might not expect to affect your balance, but plays a far bigger role than most people realize. Your vision. Let's go there next. Part 3. Ignoring vision. Changes what your eyes see affects how you stand. Most people think of balance as something that comes from the legs, the feet, or maybe the inner ear. But one of the most powerful tools your body uses to stay upright is your eyes. Yes, your vision is a key part of how your brain keeps track of where you are in space. And when that vision becomes even slightly impaired, your sense of balance suffers often without you even realizing why. Let me explain. When you walk, your brain is constantly gathering information. Where's the floor? Where's the step? How far is that chair? Your eyes send signals to your brain, helping it judge distance, depth, and contrast. That's what helps you place your foot accurately on a step, navigate uneven ground, or step over a rug. But as we get older, our vision naturally changes. We lose contrast sensitivity. We have trouble seeing clearly in low light, and small shifts in our prescription left unchecked can quietly change the way we move. I once walked straight into the edge of a coffee table in the middle of the night. I wasn't rushing, I wasn't distracted. I simply didn't see it clearly enough to adjust my step in time. That collision left a bruise. But more than that, it left a lasting reminder my eyes weren't helping me the way they used to. And I was paying the price. After that night, I scheduled an eye exam. My prescription had changed. Not drastically, but just enough to matter. I also learned something surprising. There are lenses designed specifically for low-light environments. There are coatings that reduce glare from headlights or glossy floors. And most importantly, there are simple upgrades that can make a real difference. But glasses aren't the only piece of the puzzle. Lighting matters too. Dim hallways, dark bathrooms, shadowy corners. All of these can confuse the brain's spatial awareness and increase the chance of missteps. So I made small changes. I added plug-in night lights with motion sensors. I replaced old bulbs with warmer, brighter LED lights. and I clean the lenses on my glasses every single day. These simple adjustments gave me more than better vision. They gave me confidence, because now I could trust what I was seeing. If you haven't had your eyes checked in the last year, make the appointment. Not just for reading, not just for driving, but for walking safely through your home. It's easy to take your eyes for granted, until one missed step changes everything, and while your vision guides you forward, there's something else that can quietly pull you off. Course something millions of people overlook every single day. Let's talk about medications, and why they may be doing more than you think. Part 4. Overlooking medications. The side effects nobody warned you about. Not long ago, I stood up from the couch and the room tilted just slightly, but enough to make me pause. I wasn't dizzy in the way you imagine spinning. It was more like my body didn't feel quite anchored. At first, I blamed it on a poor night's sleep or maybe dehydration. But the truth was deeper than that. It was my medication. You see, as we get older, our bodies process drugs differently. The same dosage that worked perfectly fine at age 50 may be too strong at 70. Our kidneys and liver slow down. Our sensitivity to side effects increases. And here's the part no one talks about. Even medications you've taken for years can start to affect your balance quietly, gradually, and dangerously. Blood pressure pills, pain relievers, anxiety medications, sleep aids. Many of these can cause dizziness, lightheadedness, or delayed reaction time. But because the symptoms are so subtle, we often don't connect the dots. I didn't either. Until one day I stood up too quickly, lost my footing, and bumped into the side of the table. I didn't fall, but it shook me enough to start asking questions. That night I read the label. Right there in fine print, may cause dizziness or balance problems. And that's when I realized something important. We trust our medications to help us, but we must also stay alert to how they affect us. So I made a list. Every pill I was taking, prescription over the counter, even vitamins and supplements. I tracked how I felt after taking each one. Then I brought that list to my doctor. Together, we reviewed everything. She adjusted the dosage of one medication, eliminated another, and replaced a third with a gentler alternative. The results were immediate. The dizziness stopped. My sense of stability returned. And with it, my confidence. There's a valuable lesson here. Don't ignore the quiet signals your body sends. Feeling off isn't just aging. Sometimes it's chemistry. And you are your own best advocate. You live in your body every day. You notice what feels right and what doesn't. So speak up. Ask questions. Don't settle for a treatment plan that steals your balance in the name of relief. Because sometimes a small change in your medication can lead to a big change in your quality of life. Now, while we're talking about support, let's look at something else many people rely on without realizing it might be a warning sign. Furniture, specifically using it to walk through your home. Let's go there next. Part 5. Grabbing furniture instead of using a cane. A hidden cry for help. There's a quiet habit many older adults develop. You may not even realize you're doing it. Reaching for the back of a chair as you pass. Touching the edge of a countertop when walking down the hall. Leaning on a table just for a second while turning around. It feels harmless. It feels casual. But what it really is a warning sign. It's called furniture walking, and it's your body's way of saying, I don't feel steady. I did it for years. A hand on the dresser, a quick press against the wall. I told myself I was just being careful, that I didn't need a cane. I wasn't old enough. I wasn't weak. Besides, I thought people would look at me differently if I used one. But here's what I didn't understand at the time. By the time you start relying on furniture to steady yourself, you've already started compensating for lost balance. And furniture isn't built for safety. It can slide. It can tip. It can fail you in the one moment you need it most. One day, I was carrying a full laundry basket from the bedroom to the living room. My hands were full. No way to grab a chair or lean on the wall. As I stepped onto the hardwood floor, I shifted slightly, just enough to throw myself off balance. I didn't fall, but I came dangerously close. That moment stayed with me, because it showed me the truth I'd been avoiding. I wasn't independent. I was improvising. That week, I went to a medical supply store reluctantly and tried a few canes. Most were plain. Some were clunky. But then I found one with a soft floral design. Lightweight, easy to grip. And for the first time using it, didn't feel like defeat. It felt like taking control. Now I walk without searching for a surface to lean on. I feel stable on different floors in unfamiliar places, even outdoors. And you know what? Not once has anyone judged me. In fact, I've had strangers compliment my cane. It turns out people don't see weakness, they see wisdom. Because choosing to use a cane isn't about giving up your independence. It's about protecting it. It's a quiet act of strength, a decision that says, my safety matters. So if you've noticed yourself grabbing for furniture more often, even just in passing, please pay attention. Your body is asking for help. And listening to it isn't weakness, it's courage. Now that we've looked at how we move through space, let's focus on something even more essential. Not how we support our steps, but how we train our body to stay balanced in the first place. Let's talk about balance exercises. What they are, why they matter, and how they could change your life. Part 6. Avoiding balance. Exercises why balance must be trained like a muscle. There's a quiet assumption many of us carry, that balance is something we either have or don't, that it's automatic, that it fades with age and there's nothing we can do. But that belief is not only wrong, it's dangerous. Because balance is not just a passive ability. It's an active skill. And just like strength or flexibility, it must be trained. Your body relies on 3 systems to keep you upright. Your vision, your inner ear, and your proprioception, that's your sense of where your body is in space. When you were younger, these systems worked together constantly without much effort. You moved without thinking. You adjusted without noticing. But as we age, those micro-adjustments become weaker unless we keep practicing them. I didn't learn this until I joined a wellness class at my local community center. I thought it would be a few stretches, maybe some light movement. But within minutes I was asked to stand on one foot, and I couldn't, not even for 10 seconds. I felt wobbly, off-center, embarrassed. That moment hit me harder than I expected. Because I realized for all the walking and household activity I did, I hadn't done a single thing to maintain my sense of balance. Not one focused exercise. And that neglect had consequences. The instructor told us something that stuck with me. She said, if you don't challenge your balance, your body will slowly forget how. That was the shift. So I started small, standing on one foot while brushing my teeth, walking heel to toe along the hallway, shifting my weight side to side while holding onto the back of a chair. Just 5 minutes a day, no gym, no equipment, no pressure. But after 2 weeks, something incredible happened. I stood up from a low bench without hesitation. I stepped off a curb without reaching for support. And one morning I found myself dancing in the kitchen while making coffee. Not because I planned to, but because I felt free enough to move without fear. That's what balance training gives you. Not just physical stability, but emotional freedom. The ability to move through life without bracing yourself, without shrinking away from curb stairs or unfamiliar ground. If you don't know where to begin, there are hundreds of free resources. Search for senior balance exercises. Look for beginner routines that take less than 10 minutes. And commit just a few times a week to practicing the skill that protects you more than any medicine or device ever could. Because your balance is not lost. It's just waiting to be rebuilt. Now that we've talked about movement and muscle memory, let's turn our attention to something much simpler, but just as powerful. Something that's often overlooked. Water, and the surprising ways dehydration could be putting your balance at risk. Part 7. Not drinking enough water. The invisible enemy of stability. It sounds so simple. Drink more water. We hear it all the time. But few of us connect hydration to something as serious as falling. Yet the truth is, even mild dehydration can quietly affect your balance and put you at greater risk than you might expect. Here's why. Your body needs fluid to maintain blood pressure, brain function, and joint mobility. When you're dehydrated, even just a little, your blood volume drops. That means less oxygen reaches your brain and your nervous system becomes sluggish. You may feel lightheaded when you stand, foggy in your thoughts, unsteady on your feet, and that's often when falls happen. But here's the tricky part. As we age, our sense of thirst dulls. You may not feel thirsty, even when your body desperately needs water. It's a biological change, not a personal failure. For years, I thought my tea and coffee were enough. I'd sip a little water with dinner and maybe a few sips during the day. But one afternoon I stood up from the couch and the entire room tilted just slightly. No warning, no dizziness before. I had to grab the armrest just to stay upright. That moment made me pause. Later, my doctor asked a simple question. How much plain water do you drink every day? I didn't have a good answer. So I started tracking it. 1 glass at breakfast, another mid-morning, 1 in the afternoon, 2 more in the evening. At first I had to remind myself, but the results were undeniable. The brain fog lifted. The afternoon fatigue eased. Most importantly, I felt more stable, less hesitant, more aware of my surroundings. It wasn't magic. It was hydration. So here's what I recommend. Keep a water bottle in sight on your kitchen counter, by your bed, in your handbag. Flavor it with lemon or cucumber if plain water doesn't appeal to you. Count your glasses. Aim for at least 6 to 8 cups of water a day unless your doctor advises otherwise. And remember, coffee and tea don't fully count, especially if they're caffeinated. Water is not just a beverage. It's a basic tool of balance, a silent protector of every step you take. And if you've been feeling off, before you blame age or weakness, ask yourself the simplest question: have I had enough water today? Now that we've talked about the small choices that affect your balance, let's explore the environment you live in. Because sometimes it's not your body that puts you at risk, it's your home. Let's talk about the hidden hazards in your living space and how a few changes could protect your future. Part 8. Living in a fall-unfriendly home. How to make your space safer today. Most of us feel safest at home. We know every corner, every step, every sound. But sometimes that comfort creates a false sense of security, because what feels familiar isn't always safe. In fact, the vast majority of falls happen right where we live, not because we're careless, but because our homes weren't designed with aging in mind. Rugs we've had for decades can curl at the edges. Cords stretch across walkways without us noticing. Steps that once felt effortless become harder to judge, and the lighting, soft and cozy, may not be enough to see clearly at night. I learned this lesson the hard way. One morning, I was carrying a basket of laundry through the hallway. It was a path I had walked 1,000 times, but that day my foot caught the corner of a loose rug. I twisted my ankle and fell to the floor. I didn't break anything, but I couldn't go on my morning walks for 2 weeks. And all because of a rug I'd stopped noticing. That moment taught me to look at my home with fresh eyes. Not just as a place to live, but as a place that needed to protect me. So I started making changes. I removed every rug that wasn't secured with a non-slip backing. I installed grab bars in the bathroom next to the toilet and inside the shower. I added brighter, warmer LED lights in the hallway, kitchen, and bedroom. I moved frequently used items up from the low cabinets and down from the high shelves, so I no longer had to bend or reach in unsafe ways. and I placed a motion sensor night light just outside the bathroom door. These were not expensive renovations. They were thoughtful adjustments, and together they changed the way I moved through my space. I no longer felt the need to shuffle slowly in the dark. I no longer hesitated at the bathroom threshold. And perhaps most importantly, I stopped worrying about what if. Because when your home supports your body, your confidence returns. So here's my suggestion. Do a home safety walk. Look for rugs, cords, dim lights, and slippery surfaces. Ask yourself, if I were visiting this space for the first time, would I feel safe? And then take action. Even one small change can prevent a painful fall. This isn't about wrapping yourself in bubble wrap. It's about giving yourself the freedom to live fully and move freely. Because your home should be your haven, not a hidden hazard. Now that we've walked through all 8 silent mistakes that can quietly steal your balance, it's time to bring everything together. Let's reflect, take stock, and talk about the most important step you can take next.